listening to Throw the Podcast, brought to you by ThrowTheX.com, the very best in mediocre wrestling journalism. And now, your hosts, Jay Gunter and Ben Conrad.
Hello everyone, and Merry Christmas to you all. This is Throw the Podcast, Smackdown edition. I am your host, Jay Gunter. Of course, Ben is not with me. This is the Tuesday edition of the podcast. If you want to hear Ben, he has his Monday Night Raw review up. But we are not here to talk about Ben. We aren't even here to talk about Raw. We are here to talk about SmackDown. And this particular episode, it was pre-taped. It's the Christmas edition, and there's a lot to get to. I mean, you're talking, this is the second show of the so-called new era, the fan authority era, and we had some good stuff happen. I mean, you had a guy like Rusev, who is a crowd favorite, go over Shinsuke Nakamura for the United States Championship, and I gotta tell you, people, I'm really excited about this. Okay, now don't get me wrong. I'm a big Shinsuke guy. I have been since he was in Japan. You know, I really liked his work on NXT. I thought he had the possibility to be a very, very big deal once he got to the main roster. And honestly, he kind of started out that way. But the past couple months, I mean, damn near a year, they just haven't had anything for him. He hasn't done anything. Even after he won the United States Championship, he was basically relegated to backstage promos. I don't know, the occasional run-in. Most of his matches were screwed up by Randy Orton, things like that. And on the other hand, you have Rusev. I mean, this guy's had more stops and starts than I think anybody on the roster. I mean, for a while there, you didn't know if he was heel, if he was face, what was going on with him. And his promo work, especially in the past couple weeks, has been outstanding. I'm really excited to see a guy like him actually get a run as champion. I mean, you're talking about this guy, he is handsome. His beard is majestic. You know, you could shave it, you could sell it on eBay, and people would pay millions to make sweaters for their babies, as he likes to tell everybody. And here he is. He is your new United States champion. Look for big things coming from him. He's getting a little push. He's going to end up carrying the title here for a little bit, but they're actually going forward on it. They're actually making good on the whole give the fans what they want thing. Speaking of giving the fans what they want, maybe the fans didn't want this, but I think that they're going to be pleasantly, I don't want to say surprised, maybe happy, pleasantly happy with this. And we're talking about the Daniel Bryan heel turn. Daniel Bryan has been nothing short of great as a heel. And this week's episode, didn't do anything to change that. He came out, R-Truth and Carmella came out, and they were dressed as Mr. and Mrs. Kloss, for the Christmas edition. And Daniel Bryan came out and pretty much ruined the entire thing for him. And he was great. He was fantastic in his promo, and it was extremely entertaining, and it pushed his character. I highly recommend, if you don't like Daniel Bryan as a heel, or you're just not sure which way they're heading with it, this particular segment can really point you in the direction of where they're going to go. I think Daniel Bryan has a really bright future as a heel. You're getting to see a side of him that you haven't got to see, the past 10 years or so since he's been wrestling. He's always been kind of that over-the-top baby face, somebody to that the fans can get behind. And I think this new addition, the new Daniel Bryan, is going to do great things. Keep an eye on this, because this is going to be fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, I know Ben is extremely happy about this. You had another Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson sighting. The Good Brothers were out again, this time in the form of an 8-man tag team match. It was Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and the Usos versus Sanity and The Bar. And this one actually got some playtime. It was a pretty decent match for what it was. Normally, I don't get into the 8-man tags. I know why they do it. Get as many people on the show, continue feuds without actually having the so-called feud take place. In this case, you don't want The Bar just facing the Good Brothers, because you're going to ruin the feud for later. So they just kind of put everybody together. and the Good Brothers pick up another win. Not only do the Good Brothers pick up another win, but they actually pin the Bar. So the Good Brothers actually went over the tag team champions. And so the Good Brothers, their contract's running out pretty soon. They came into the WWE. I know if you've listened to past Throw the Podcast editions, we've talked extensively about this, but they were the hottest thing coming out of Japan. They were the best tag team coming out of Japan when they started with the WWE. And right when they got here, it looked like they were going to get pushed as stars. You didn't know whether it was going to be with AJ Styles, which they didn't do, or Finn Balor, which again, they didn't do. They didn't build off of their past. They gave them a small run as an actual tag team, and they just didn't give them anything. There was nothing there for them. They just kind of wallowed in the mid-card tag team area, which, let's be honest, there really isn't a mid-card tag team area. WWE, the past, 5-7 years, their tag team's taken a backseat to everything. There was the top one or two at the card, and then there was just people that you didn't see. And so it was great to actually see the Good Brothers come out. Looks like they're going to be getting a little push here, which, can anyone really complain about that? I love the fact that new tag teams are coming out, that they're actually pushing these guys. And like I said, I'm not sure if it's, their contracts coming up and they're looking to give them a little play in order to re-sign them. There was talk about them maybe going back to Japan just because they're not really getting anything on the WWE. But I'm glad the WWE is finally getting behind them. I don't care the reason. Give me more Carl Anderson. Give me more Luke Gallows. They're great to watch. I like their characters. And their wrestling is actually good. They're a good wrestling tag team. And if you're into wrestling, there was another match on SmackDown. It was the new Mustafa Ali, which of course he's new to SmackDown. If you watch 205, you've seen him a bunch of times, versus Andrade Cien Elmas. Both these guys are fantastic wrestlers. Mustafa Ali is your typical cruiserweight, lightweight, whatever you want to call him. He does a lot of the high-flying things. And Andrade Cien Elmas is a former luchador. Okay, so he used to wrestle with a mask. You can still see him during his entrance. He still wears his former mask out before he takes it off and does his thing. And this match was another great wrestling match to watch. There was a lot of high spots. There was a lot of good showcasing of both of them. And of course, Zelina Vega was out, and you got to stare at her a little bit too, which is always a good thing. Mustafa Ali picked up yet another win. So, so far, this guy's come in. His first match on SmackDown was against the champion, Daniel Bryan. Of course, he lost that, but hey, he got showcased. His second match which was a tag team match, but he got to pin the world heavyweight champion, Daniel Bryan. And for a guy whose body size isn't one that is normally pushed in the WWE, this is a great start for him. Minus his first loss, he's been booked strong. He's been booked like he might even get a little push here, which will be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how it develops and how it plays out a little bit further down the line, if they stick with him or if he's just a flash in the pan. And speaking of, the little push and the little development, there was yet another development on SmackDown. Miz came out. He did his Miz TV segment, and of course it was with Shane McMahon. And if you haven't been paying attention, he's been playing kind of the wooed man, if you will. He's been trying to get Shane as his tag team partner. He thinks that they could be the best in the world, why he thinks that tag teaming with somebody that isn't a wrestler will make them the best in the world. I really don't know. But he came out, he had him out, and he had a big, drawn-out conversation with Shane McMahon about his father, not Vince McMahon, about the Miz's father. And he basically said, my dad has never said I'm great at anything. He's, everything that I've ever done was to get my dad to be proud of me. And after winning championships, after winning, Money in the Bank matches, after main eventing WrestleMania, he never once told me, that it was great, that, things like that. And he said, but he saw you and he said, now that man's great. And wouldn't it be awesome if you could tag team with him? Or if you could become a tag team with him? And he said that that's the entire reason behind him wanting to be a tag team partner with Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon basically said, look, if you screw me, there's going to be hell to pay. But yes, I'll be your tag team partner. And everybody rejoiced. That there was crowd participation. The Miz basically said, hey, you're the one that said you're going to listen to the fans from here on out. So let's ask the fans, do they want you to be my tag team partner? And everybody did yes. And then there was a fun segment at the end. The Miz started a yes chant, and he basically said, I don't like the guy that does this, but hell, I invented it. A play off of, he pretty much took all of Daniel Bryan's things, for a stretch of times. He took the yes kicks, made him the it kicks and whatnot. So that was a lot of fun to watch. All in all, I mean, you're talking about a pre-recorded SmackDown, and when they recorded it, they didn't think there was going to be a lot of viewers, it being Christmas and everything like that, and it turned out to be a really solid addition, especially when compared to the past couple SmackDowns. I thought the last one was pretty good, but the ones before that were pretty weak. This current run, I mean, there was a Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe segment that was pretty good, but all in all, there really wasn't anything on this show to bitch about. Everything was good. I highly recommend. I know a lot of you had things going on for the holidays. You might be listening to this before you actually get to sit down and watch SmackDown. This really isn't an episode to fast forward through. This is one to sit down, watch, enjoy, and I think you guys are really going to like this one. But that's the review of SmackDown. I want to remind everybody, me and Ben as a group, Throw the Podcast. We are on Twitter at TTX Wrestling. Get in touch with us. Let us know your thoughts, questions, all that fun stuff. We love interacting with you guys. It's the best part of our job, trust me. Our podcast. This is, of course, the Tuesday edition, the SmackDown. Ben has his own Raw edition that you can catch on Monday nights or Tuesday mornings, depending on when it gets up. And then us together, we give you all the backstage news, all the happenings, and that normally comes out on the weekend as Throw the Podcast. You can find all this stuff on Google Play, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iTunes, Podbean, or just go directly to our website, throwthex.com. Everything is up there. I want to thank you guys for listening. Once again, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Make sure that you keep in touch. Once again, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Throw the Podcast. Join us again next week for even more wrestling commentary.